Thank you. So the Policy Lab 2 looked at issues of social inclusion and employment. We heard about recent ESPON evidence on patterns of unemployment growth and links with the knowledge economy and the impact that this is having on inequalities. So since the economic crisis, we have seen an unbalanced spatial distribution of employment opportunities, which has led to an increasing polarization between urban and rural areas and between east and west and northern and southern regions. So unemployment is having an increasing larger role as a push factor in migration decisions. The problem, of course, in the regions, in descending regions, is that they have invested in people and they are experiencing a brain drain, and which is really a cause of a question really of a waste of wasted investment. So one of the points was that cohesion policy should look in particular at supporting lagging regions. So at European level, there's this issue of employment migration from peripheral areas to the core, to the centers of the knowledge economy. But we also heard about from the ESPON project on inner peripheries that was recently concluded. And there, so an inner periphery is an area that is perhaps not geographically on the edge, but has some sorts of challenges in interacting with the world. Cities are traditionally seen as the motors of regional development in the knowledge economy. And inner peripheries are areas that are close to these motors of development, but for some reason they're not getting the benefits of these engines of growth. So it's a very complex issues. So when it comes to facing those challenges, we need to be very careful in looking in having a non-superficial diagnosis and not rushing to any solutions. So these are complex systemic problems and they need a carefully thought through intervention logic. So there are different types of inner peripheries that face different problems, different challenges. They also have different potentials and they need different strategies. In the discussion, what came out is that what is really essential, and this is also what the evidence suggests, is that good institutional capacity is needed at the local level to assess the needs and then to define the assets and the strategies that are needed in the medium and in the long term. So the idea is really to start from a good diagnosis, but also to activate the local community. I think we heard this morning also from Professor Barker about the importance of citizen activists. So I think this is also a message that was reiterated in the policy lab. We also heard about recent ESPON work on youth unemployment. Youth unemployment in particular carries a higher risk of social exclusion. And we're faced with a young generation of people that are growing up with a lack of trust in labor markets and in government because they're not able to access job opportunities. And the stakes here could really not be any higher. The youth guarantee that was introduced in 2013 should be implemented, and it's important that supporting measures are geared to local, national and regional circumstances. So this disconnect that we have with regards to youth unemployment is also something that a participant from Bulgaria referred to in the context of the brain drain, where people are just not connected with the policy that is coming from above. So politicians are doing something, but the citizens are not really feeling it, and how they don't really have a sense of how the strategies are being implemented. We also heard that whereas youth unemployment is clearly a major challenge, we should not forget about the adults, and the spending on adult training has been cut in many areas, but this is a major challenge that also has to be faced to retrain and reskill the older generation for the new jobs in the knowledge economy. And I want to end with sort of three final messages that I captured during the discussions. One is that continuity of policy is an issue. We cannot just have experiments and pilots. It's also important to see if we know what works, that we also mainstream this into general policy and that we continue with it, otherwise we lose the momentum. Then secondly, data and different interpretations of that data can also be a challenge. We heard one example where there was a different interpretation between local and central governments about data linked to traffic and to road infrastructure, whereas there's the area that in question has a lot of tourists coming, where essentially 4 in 5 journeys are made by tourists, and the central government essentially saying that, well, we do not count these as actual journeys. For the journeys, we only count the business journeys. So this of course has implications for for investments in infrastructure and so on. So these disconnect in terms of the interpretation of the data is something that should be tackled. And then finally, one kind of piece of advice is that the best thing really is to grow your local industry, because catching big fish in the ocean tends not to work. And this is coming from one of our stakeholders from a coastal community, so I think we should take this as one final piece of wisdom. Thank you.